I came back from a trip after being away for a couple of days, and I had these terrible headaches, was diagnosed with having anyway, they had to take the top of my head off a couple times, see if I had a brain, but
This is my first video update from Athens, Greece on this Tuesday morning. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with a quick update as to what is happening on the ground in Ukraine, in Bakhmut. Zelensky, he gave a statement yesterday, his video statement to the people of Ukraine, and he announced that after meeting with the Ukraine military command, the decision has been taken to continue to fight in Bakhmut. Zelensky said that his top generals recommended to reinforce Bakhmut. That is what he said in his video statement yesterday. What this means is that, as I said in my video update yesterday evening, that Ukraine top command, they've decided that the best option for them right now in Bakhmut is to mount some sort of an offensive to punch through the cauldron that the Russian military has created in Bakhmut, and they're most likely going to do this via Chasov Yar. Though Zelensky said that they're pouring in reinforcements from other areas as well to mount this offensive, to cover their flanks, and to break through this Russian cauldron so that they can retreat the forces that are stuck in Bakhmut. There are reports of Ukraine military retreating from Bakhmut, but they're unable to get their heavy equipment out. There are reports that the roads, whatever roads that are available to them to retreat, to get out of this cauldron, are very muddy, and even pickup trucks or cars are getting stuck in the mud. And even if they were to retreat with infantry vehicles or tanks or stuff like that, they would come under the fire of the Russian military. So effectively what you're seeing is whatever forces are able to get out of Bakhmut, they are leaving with small arms, and that's how they're getting out of this cauldron. So that's the latest update from Bakhmut. There's an effort for some Ukraine military to retreat, but they're having to retreat via very muddy roads, and they're just kind of getting out of Bakhmut with whatever they have on them, and whatever heavy equipment they had is stuck. It's stuck in this cauldron. So in the next couple of days, I would imagine that we're going to see a very big Ukraine offensive to punch through the cauldron, to create a big enough opening via some sort of road where they can retreat whatever troops are in this cauldron. So that's what is going to most likely happen in the next couple of days. But Zelensky has announced that the Ukraine military is without a doubt going to fight in this area. They are not going to retreat. They are going to fight, and they are going to pour in more resources to reinforce the area and reinforce this offensive. As I said in my video yesterday, too much is at stake in Bakhmut. Way too much is at stake from a media perspective, a symbolic media perspective, to a military strategic perspective, and a political perspective as well. There's a political angle as well in Bakhmut for the U.S. State Department, for Zelensky, for EU leadership. There's the narrative of holding on to Bakhmut and buying time so that the West can better prepare their spring counteroffensive, which is going to be the spring counteroffensive where, according to the Wall Street Journal, it's going to be the spring counteroffensive where the Ukraine delivers such a blow to Russia that they will finally be able to get to the negotiating table, and Ukraine will be able to exert leverage over Russia during the negotiation process. The Wall Street Journal reported that when Biden was meeting with East European officials and Baltic nation officials, and he freaked them out. He said something that freaked them out. We are getting reports that what Biden was leaning towards was telling them that they need to calm down their anti-Russian rhetoric just a bit and stop coming out with statements. The Baltic nations, the Eastern European nations, they need to stop coming out with statements claiming that that the war is going to lead to the overall defeat of Russia, to regime change in Russia, to the overthrow of Putin. Biden was like, tone it down just a little bit, because the goal is to get this spring counteroffensive to deliver a significant blow to the Russian military so that we can get to the negotiating table and exert our leverage over Russia during negotiations. That's pretty much what went down when Biden met with Baltic nation leaders and Eastern European leaders. That's the plan. And it would make sense if you're looking at it from the Biden White House re-election lens. Because for Biden, he has to find a way to wrap this up by the summertime, say summer at the late summer, say August at the latest. He needs to wrap this up because he's got to get into campaign mode. And if he can get a spring offensive going, and that spring offensive delivers the success that he's hoping for, that his White House staff is betting on, then they feel that they can approach the Russians, sit down to negotiate a peace, and they can come out of this negotiation with something in their hands that then Biden can take to the American people and say, my plan in Ukraine worked. We stood up to the Russians. We got a critical victory in the spring, and we were able to force the Russians to do X, Y, and Z, whatever that is. It won't be leaving Crimea, but it'll be something like leaving Zaporozhye or Kherson or something like that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing stuff there, but that's pretty much how they're seeing things. So the spring offensive is crucial for the Biden White House, because for them, the spring offensive is going to be Biden's way out of Ukraine, and it's going to be what he's going to sell the American people on when he campaigns for a second term. A second term. Wow. Jill Biden, the First Lady, she gave an interview to, I think it was ABC News, either ABC News or NBC News. And she said that it's crazy to have cognitive tests, like mental ability tests for presidents and for political office holders. She said that the idea of having a test for people who are holding office who are over 75, she said that's nonsense. Anyway, not important news, but I thought I would throw that out there. So let's see. Olaf Scholz, he gave an interview to CNN, to Fareed Zakaria, and he gave this interview when he was meeting with Joe Bidenopoulos, Greece's favorite son, a couple of days ago in the U.S. And Olaf Scholz, he said that the EU, Germany, has warned China not to deliver lethal weapons to to Russia to help Russia because Russia is running out of ammo. They're using shovels now. And so he doesn't want China to deliver weapons to Russia. And he said that so far, all signs are that China is abiding by the warnings of the European Union and Olaf Scholz. Xi Jinping is very scared of Olaf Scholz's warnings, but he said that during the interview. He said that Germany is going to support Ukraine with weapons and financial assistance for as long as it takes. He said that that Putin must not win in Ukraine because Russia has imperialistic goals, and they've shown their imperialistic aggression, which I find kind of interesting because it's the collective West that, in my opinion, are the imperialists. And I find this statement from Olaf Scholz just another form of projection, but also fear, because through the projection, Olaf Scholz is signaling that the collective West is very afraid of their empire crumbling and falling apart. They're very nervous that many of the colonies that they have around the world are going to see Russia's example, and they're going to start to push back against the empire, the colonizers, kind of like what we saw yesterday in my video open with Macron and the leader of Congo, where the president of Congo actually snapped back and shut down Macron. I think they see videos like that, and the globalist leaders, the collective West globalist elite, they get very nervous, very, very nervous when they see videos like what we saw the other day with the Congo leader actually shutting down the president of France. So in his imperialist statement, I think there's just a lot of projection and fear in that statement that Russia is an imperialist aggressor. It's actually the reverse. But there is one statement which I found very amusing from Olaf Scholz during this interview with CNN. And it's what he said about Joe Biden. Here's what he said about Bidenopolis. Scholz said, "He is very informed about international relations. I think he's one of the most skilled presidents, knowing how things are running in the world, which is important in times that are becoming more dangerous." I've heard a lot of people describing Joe Biden, but I've never heard someone call Joe Biden skilled, informed, skilled and informed. That's how Olaf Scholz, that's how little Scholzy describes U.S. President Joe Biden. Man, oh man. What's it like to be the Chancellor of Germany, to know that the Biden White House blew up your critical infrastructure, and then to visit Biden and to grovel at his feet, knowing that that this is the guy that blew up Nord Stream 2, according to Seymour Hersh is reporting. But what's that like? I mean, what kind of a chancellor do you have to be to get to that level? A proper chancellor, like a real chancellor of Germany, would have, after Seymour Hersh put out his findings, would have said, "Stop, enough. Germany's not going to be doing anything. We're not going to be funding Ukraine. We're not going to be arming Ukraine. I'm not going to be traveling to G20 meetings or G7 meetings. I'm not going to be visiting Biden. We're not going to be going to NATO meetings. We're not going to be doing anything until we get an investigation and we get to the truth of what happened with Nord Stream 2. That's what a real leader would have done. Germany did have an investigation going on, as did Sweden, as did Denmark. But Germany shut down that investigation. Sweden doesn't let the world know what they found. It wasn't so much of an investigation as it probably was a cleanup job, removing whatever traces of up to no good was left by the people that blew up the pipeline. But a real leader would have said, you know what, we're not going to be doing anything with anybody. We're not going anywhere. We're not taking part in any events, and we're not giving money to nobody until we get to the bottom of Nord Stream 2. Instead, he went to the White House, and that's what he says about Joe Biden, who, according to Seymour Hersh's reporting, actually gave the order to blow up Nord Stream, according to Seymour Hersh's findings. There was a news report the other day which said that The Hague in the Netherlands, they refused to investigate Nord Stream. Why is that? Didn't the Netherlands and The Hague, didn't they, they investigate everything. They have trials for everything and everybody, right? How come they don't want to take up Nord Stream 2? The one thing that The Hague doesn't want to take up, it's Nord Stream 2. Everything else, they investigate it. Everything. They investigate leaders. They put leaders on trial. They investigate all kinds of accidents. You name it, they investigate it. But Nord Stream 2, they don't want to touch it. Why is that? Makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. Peter Szijjártó, the foreign minister of Hungary, he said that the only way forward for some sort of peace in Ukraine is a ceasefire, and then we get to negotiations. And the Hungarian foreign minister is 100% right. The way to get to a peace process, if you really want peace and you're the collective West, is you stop funneling money and weapons into the Zelensky regime. You tell the Russians that you're going to stop funneling money and weapons into the Zelensky regime. You back up your words with actions, of course, because the Russians are going to want to see action. And then you get to a ceasefire, and then you get to the negotiation table. Not the reverse of what's happening. This is what Peter Szijjártó said the other day in an interview that he gave with Sweden's SVT. He said that right now, the European leadership, they have some sort of a psychosis, this like war psychosis, this mental disease where each one of the EU leaders is trying to outdo the other with their level of warmongering, or how many weapons they can get to Ukraine, or at least talk about getting to Ukraine. And he said that it's this type of like war mentality which has taken over all of the EU leadership. But Szijjártó says that the way to get to an eventual negotiation is you first have to stop the pouring in of weapons. You have to stop the fighting. Then you can get to the peace table. He said this to Sweden's SVT. Look at the infrastructure. Look at the people. Look at the number of people leaving the country. Look at the former houses. Look at the damage, the energy infrastructure. This country is being demolished, destroyed. I don't think that would be of interest to anybody. Szijjártó stated that Hungary, as opposed to other European countries, sees the first priority in the Ukrainian conflict as being to stop killing people. It suggested that the only way to achieve that is to enter discussions that would hopefully lead to a sustainable peace agreement. He also noted that the solutions that were being offered in Europe simply did not work because everyone is too invested into the war psyche. As for sanctions, Szijjártó pointed out that they have also failed to achieve an effect. We have introduced packages of sanctions already. Did it bring us any closer to a solution? No. Did it make the war less brutal? No. Did it put Russia on its knees? No. Did it hurt us? Yes. Enough said. Enough said. I think Peter Szijjártó and Hungary is the one country in the collective West that is speaking common sense. But no one is listening to them because, as he rightly said in his statement to Sweden's SVT, the collective West, they are trapped in a war psyche. And they're trapped in it, absolutely. Dmitry Medvedev, he came out with some interesting statements yesterday as well. And he said that Russia is ready to help the world do away with the vestiges of a Western-dominated colonial past. Medvedev argued that as a nation which has never had any colonies, Russia is well placed to take part in this process. In an article published on Monday, Medvedev claimed that the geopolitical turbulence has cut open an abscess of the old problems of our world. The ex-president, who now serves as deputy chair of the Russian Security Council, argued that the malignant tumor of a colonial past is a problem that calls for international surgery. We, together with other countries, can now drive the final nail in the coffin of the Western world's neo-colonial aspirations, Medvedev proclaimed in the piece posted on the United Russia Party's website. It goes back to the video that I posted yesterday that everyone has seen, the video that has gone viral of the president of Congo shutting down the president of France. All of these countries, they're seeing what Russia is doing, the global South. They're seeing what Russia is doing, and they're saying, this is our opportunity. We now have options. We can go to China. We can go to Russia. We can go to India. We have options for financing. We have options for economic aid. We have options for military support. There are options now. And the global South is saying this is our chance this is our opportunity to tell our colonizers to get out. And I think leading this charge are the countries of Africa. Not all the countries, but there are some countries in Africa that are now telling, for example, the French, get out. We don't want you anymore because we have options. And that's what Medvedev is talking about in this piece. So I thought that was an interesting post from Dmitry Medvedev. It's always interesting to hear what Medvedev has to say. And should we get to a clown world, I have one more piece of news. And that has to do with, I always forget her name, Tikhanovskaya, I believe. She was the opposition party leader in Belarus during the elections that took place a couple of years ago. Yeah, Tikhanovskaya. And according to a court in Belarus, they have now sentenced her to 15 years in prison. She's being sentenced in exile because I believe she's living now in Poland. But she was put on trial in absentia on charges including conspiring to overthrow the government. I found this to be an interesting piece of news because we forget that before Ukraine, the plan was to first take out Belarus, then Kazakhstan, and then get to the conflict in Ukraine. But the European Union, the collective West, they failed in their coup to overthrow the Lukashenko government during the elections. And then they went to Kazakhstan and they tried for regime change there, and that one fell apart within like a week. That one fell apart very quickly. And then they focused all of their energies on Ukraine. I actually read something a couple of days ago which said that, I think I might have bookmarked it, which said that Kazakhstan is transferring all of their uranium to Russia. The government of Kazakhstan has transferred shares in 3 uranium enterprises to the Uranium Van Group company, which is part of the Russian state corporation Rosatom. Upon completion of the transaction, the Russian Federation will become the world's largest supplier of uranium. Wow. So this is Kazakhstan's answer to Anthony Blinken's trip to Kazakhstan, where he kind of warned Kazakhstan. He kind of said, look, stop supporting Russia and we'll give you guys protection from Russia. And then the Kazakhstan foreign minister said, yeah, but we're not being threatened by Russia. And that whole trip that Blinken had a week ago, these are the fruits of Blinken's trip to Kazakhstan. Russia, here is our uranium. You're now the world's largest supplier of uranium. Congratulations. A real successful trip from Blinken to Kazakhstan. Wow. So let's do two clown worlds. The first clown world has to do with cranes, Chinese cranes. There was a Wall Street Journal report which said that China, not balloons, but China will now be using cranes that they have at ports, big cranes that are at U.S. ports. They're going to be using those cranes to spy on the U.S. The Chinese official, they're calling these claims just paranoia. That's what they're saying. But this is it leaves me speechless, to be quite honest. But yeah, this is the next. China is spying on us, is doing harm to us narrative coming out of the U.S. National security and Pentagon officials told the Wall Street Journal that they are investigating concerns that cargo cranes widely used at American ports could be using sophisticated technology to monitor U.S. logistics operations, an idea dismissed by China's foreign ministry. The claim is complete paranoia, Mao Ning, a Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson, said at a Monday news conference, according to Newsweek, adding that voicing such concerns is misleading to the American public. Well, the point is to mislead the American public. Chinese spokesperson, that is the point, is to mislead the American public. So we've gone from balloons to cranes. It's going to be the spying cranes. And they're going to spy on U.S. logistics operations. Interesting clown world. And another clown world, and this one's a really, really good one. Things are getting very bad for the collective West and for Ukraine when they have to bring out U2's frontman, Bono. Actually, the whole band, U2. When they have to bring out U2, things are going very, very bad. Well, we have from The Sun this report, which says we are going to have not Live Aid, LVIV Aid, LVIV Aid. I thought Ukraine calls it Lvov, though. I thought the Russians call it Lviv. I don't know. I think the Russian pronunciation for the city is Lviv, and the Ukraine pronunciation for the city is Lvov. Let me know in the comments down below if I'm wrong about that. Anyway, The Sun says LVIV Aid, Live Aid style gig for Ukraine this summer to pile pressure on Putin, with Pink and U2 set to perform at Wembley. Pink and U2 are going to be performing at Wembley. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Well, it looks like Russia will be defeated, because once you have a LVIV Aid concert with Bono and Pink singing at Wembley, then you've been defeated. That's the end game for Putin, the end game for Russia. It's all over. A summer concert to pile on pressure on Putin. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to pile on the pressure on Putin. Man, what happened to U2? They were so good during Boy in October and War, The Unforgettable Fire, The Joshua Tree. What happened to them? What happened? Anyway, I'll leave the video there. I'm trying to think if there was another story I wanted to talk about here. Oh, here we go. Bild put out another story where they're going after Zelensky again. Bild has it in for Zelensky. They want Zelensky out. That's my feeling about the German publication Bild. And Bild is a big publication. It's a big propaganda outlet. They said that Zelensky is making a catastrophic mistake in Bakhmut. By order of Zelensky, the Ukrainian army has been defending Bakhmut for 6 months, and the price is very high. It can be much higher than Ukraine can afford. The problem is that Zelensky could make a major military mistake here, and Putin will certainly take advantage of this. If he wins, it will be very dangerous. That's what Bild posted the other day. So 2 articles in a row from Bild criticizing Zelensky. But you know what I have to tell Bild? Don't worry. Don't worry about Putin capitalizing, as you say, capitalizing on Zelensky's mistake. That's what Bild said. Putin will take advantage of Zelensky's military mistakes. Don't worry about that, Bild, because you have Bono and Pink to the rescue, singing at Wembley, pelting out, "It's a beautiful day." Don't let it get away. That's going to scare Putin, all right. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rockfin as well. And go to the Duran shop. Here we go. 10% off. Use the code GOODDAY. This is my Duran long sleeve shirt with the flag of Austria. 10% off. Use the code GOODDAY. A lot of cats hanging around today. A lot of cats. Take care.